Well, hello and welcome to another Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Shelton. I do hope that you are doing well and the people that you live with are also doing well. Today then, we're continuing thinking about war, and we're going to think what makes a good war. Okay, so it might sound like a bit of an odd question that, because you might say, oh, there's no such thing as a good war. But we talked last time about rules and things like that. We thought about rules that you might put in with being at war. So I'd like you to think about this question. What do you think makes a good war? Have a think about that. Maybe make a few notes. Go and grab your pen and paper. You've got a minute, because here's our cheesy intro sequence. So we're going to think about that question during today's lesson under the guise of the just war theory. Okay, so our title today is What is the Just War Theory? And we're going to explore what the just war theory is. It's as simple as that. And as always, I'm going to ask that you send everything through to your teachers at the end of the lesson. So you know what's going to be good. It's going to be good if you can retell the just war theory and apply it to some recent conflicts. It's going to be great if you can develop your understanding about the just war theory and apply it to some situations, and even better if you can evaluate if the just war theory and answer a reflection question as well. So we're going to do some reading today. You're going to be extracting some information. Hopefully you'll be working well, and obviously it'll be great if you're able to meet up with other people online whilst doing this lesson if possible. And we're also going to do moral and social as well. During today's session, we are going to look at the concept of what is war. We're going to have a little media clip. We're going to look at Bible quotes for and against it, the cube of learning, or a mind map, or there's going to be an option there for you, and there's a reflection question as well. So to start off with, I'd like you to think about these questions here. What is war? Why does war happen? And when should a war happen? And there's a bigger question there, which is war should never be allowed. What do you think? Okay, and there's a little structure there for you to go through. What I'd like you to do, please, is for the next few minutes, give yourself 5 minutes for this, just go through and just make a few notes, answer some of those questions in as much detail as you can for 5 minutes, and then come back to me and we'll carry on with the other part of the learning. So pause me now, let's work through those questions and then come back to me. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to give you an overview now about what the just war theory is. So I've got this from Catholic Central on YouTube. It's a really good way of showing what war is, or what the just war theory, should I say, is. Please make some notes while you're on, but we are going to do a little bit more work on it, so don't rely 100% on this because there will be other things we're going to do later. But it will give you a flavour anyway. So from Catholic Central, let's just watch this now.
All right, for $2,000, Libby. What completes the title of Leo Tolstoy's epic 1867 novel, Blank and Peace? Is it A, kiwi fruit, B, indefatigability, C, War and Beatty,
Oh, I like him.
or D, War? Take your time.
Oh, this is easy. I read this in high school. The answer is D, war.
The card says you're correct, but is war ever the answer?
Hi, I'm Libby.
And I'm Kai. Welcome to Catholic Central.
War. From the times of Cain and Abel all the way up to today, humans have been fighting and killing each other.
And for just as long, people have been trying to figure out the morality of war.
We see conflict in the world, and it's natural to wonder whether war is the answer, or if it is ever the answer.
So how does the Catholic Church think about war and peace?
Let's start with an important distinction. Peace is more than just the absence of war. When the Church talks about peace, it means genuine harmony where people and nations are in a state of right relationship.
Yeah, isn't everyone just looking for the right relationship?
When Catholics talk about right relationship, we mean a state where people aren't exploiting, oppressing, or manipulating each other.
To have real peace, you need justice, where people respect each other's rights and meet their own responsibilities. Jesus boiled this down to a simple principle: love your neighbor as yourself.
Catholics believe that through God, even the hardest hearts can be turned away from violence. This is why the Church prays together for peace around the world.
Now, hang on a minute.
Yeah?
You do know that there are some terrible wars going on right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I didn't know better, I'd say that God wasn't answering our prayers for world peace.
This is an important point. When we pray for peace, we're not praying that some giant hand comes down and swats missiles out of the sky, although that would be pretty cool. Praying for peace is opening our own hearts to God's love and asking the same for our fellow human beings.
That's why the Church also works actively in the world to create peace. These pro-peace activities include standing up for human rights, supporting disarmament, and promoting social and economic development to target the root causes of violence and war.
Also, the Vatican has formal diplomatic relations with about 180 countries and has mediated many crises to prevent war, including playing an important role in urging a peaceful resolution to the Cuban Missile Crisis.
So if you're glad that you and your parents were even born, you can thank Pope St. John the 23rd.
Yet, despite our best efforts to promote peace, people sometimes misuse their God-given free will and start wars anyway.
So let's talk about the Church's stance on war and what it means for each of us.
First, we need to be really clear that war, always and everywhere, causes innocent people to suffer.
If your only experience of war is movies, CNN, and Call of Duty, it's easy to think of war as something abstract that happens to other people far away.
But when you read about people killed in war, every single one of them had human dignity, hopes, and dreams just like you.
We should do everything reasonably possible to avoid war. Yet, the Church also recognizes that sometimes people determined to harm the innocent can only be stopped with force. This idea led to what we call just war theory.
This dates back to St. Augustine and was developed by other thinkers like St. Thomas Aquinas during the Middle Ages and Pope St. John Paul II in our own time.
When national leaders are deciding whether to fight a war and individual citizens are deciding whether to support it, there are 4 criteria to determine whether it is a just war.
First, just cause.
Don't start a war just 'cause.
To be just, a war must be fought for the right reasons, preventing a harm that is lasting, grave, and certain. A nation shouldn't go to war to expand its territories or avenge an insult, but it can defend itself or others against an enemy invasion.
Second, a just war must only be waged as a last resort, once all other practical options have failed.
Third, there must be a real chance of success. Wasting human lives is not just.
And fourth, proportionality. The harms that a war seeks to prevent must be greater than the harms that will be caused by the war itself.
So it sounds like I'm justified in waging war on my roommate's boyfriend, Brian. He's always at our apartment, won't even acknowledge me when I'm in the room, and his BO consistently makes me...
Maybe, but it depends on the kind of war. Even just wars must not be fought with immoral tactics. No matter how evil an enemy leader is or how bad their BO, civilians are still civilians and may not be deliberately targeted. And even so-called collateral damage must be proportional to the military benefit.
How do you determine the right proportion?
It's impossible to put an exact number on it, but if you know that an attack will kill or harm few enemy soldiers and many civilians, or in your case, your roommate, that's wrong.
What about limits on weapons?
Weapons of mass destruction, like nuclear bombs or deadly viruses, kill soldiers and civilians indiscriminately. Landmines stay buried in the ground and can maim children many years later.
So no on weapons of mass destruction, but like what about setting traps?
Libby, could you stop thinking about your roommate's boyfriend and tell everyone about forming your conscience?
Oh, right. A core principle of Catholic ethics is each person's responsibility to have a well-informed conscience. This means paying attention to current events and opposing unjust wars.
If you are ever in the military and receive an unjust order, you have a responsibility to refuse. The horrors of World War II showed that just following orders is no excuse.
Although we have a duty to oppose unjust wars, the Church recognizes that it is also a legitimate moral choice to oppose all war. This is known as pacifism.
You don't have to be a pacifist, but many saints and great Catholics throughout history, like St. Francis, Dorothy Day, and Thomas Merton, were pacifists. Pacifists followed the radical example of Jesus, who was arrested and tortured unjustly, but did not resist.
If someone is a soldier or forced to join the military, but they refuse to participate in violence because of their fundamental moral convictions, they are known as conscientious objectors. The Catholic Church supports and affirms conscientious objectors and works to uphold their rights around the world.
And although Christians have sometimes wrongly used God as a justification for immoral violence, today's church is very clear that extremism can never justify unjust war.
So anything else I need to consider before I dramatically proclaim this means war the next time Brian leaves dirty dishes in the sink?
Work on forming your conscience. To make good judgments, stay informed about current events and read writings by thinkers who've struggled with these questions before.
Consider how new technologies like drones might affect just war theory, especially the consequences for victims, which now that I'm really thinking about it, I guess it's not her fault.
One of the best ways to build peace in the fullest sense of the word is by forming friendships with people from other countries and from marginalized groups.
Because when you're friends with someone, you don't usually want to kill them. Maybe I can be a better friend to Brian, even though he makes me.
If you want peace in your apartment, then yes. True peace is a state of justice and right relationship. God made us to live in peace, but some people abuse their free will to harm each other.
Don't worry, I'm not going to wage war. Yet. For Catholic Central, I'm Libby.
And I'm Kai. Check out our website for more resources, CatholicCentral.com. See you next time.
So the next thing that I want to do is I want to think about what the Bible says about war. Because the Bible's quite split on this. You can find arguments for and against it as well. So I'm going to put some quotes up on the screen, and you're going to write down 2, 3 or 4 of them in each side. So which of these are arguments for war, and which ones are the Bible quotes that would be against war, in your opinion? Now you might say, oh, the Bible's contradictory. Well, the Bible's a construct of humans, based on human experiences as well as being revealed by the Word of God, according to Christians. And therefore it records historical things that have occurred. So what I'd like you to do while you're looking at these is to keep that in mind, and try and come up with quotes that would support war and quotes that would do against it. So draw that table out. So pause me now while you do that, and then you're going to come back to me and I'm going to put the quotes up behind me. Okay, so these are the quotes. You're going to need to pause me while you get those down, as we talked about. So you have to 2, 3 or 4, both for and against war. So pause me now while you do that. Okay, so I'm going to go through those answers with you now. So if you haven't paused me to get that done, then make sure that you pause me now. So here are the answers. So the ones that are red are the ones that are against war. The ones that are green are the ones that are arguments for war. Again, fairly self-explanatory, so I'm not going to read those through with you. So again, just pause me and just double check those off. So you can see there the Bible is actually quite split on that, which is a very interesting perspective. But hungering and helping the righteous is a theme that flows throughout the Bible, and maybe war is a way of helping people that there's an injustice going on. So we said it'd be good if you could retell what the just story is and apply it with recent conflicts. Well, that's where we need to really be thinking and develop our understanding of just war theory. Now, we've been seeing that, and we've been thinking about what the Bible teaches, hence why some Christians would be actually okay with war in the right circumstances. So this is where we're going to take this. So what I'd like you to do is I would like you to access the description below. And in the description below, you will find a number of worksheets. You will find a worksheet called Worksheet. That's the first thing everyone needs to do. That's got the information about just war theory, some questions for you to be thinking about with regards to World War II as well. So I'm expecting a little bit of historical knowledge. There's also a cube of learning, which you can complete if you wanted. So you can make a little dice type thing with information on. Or you can create a mind map as well, going through the just war theory, relating that to things as well. So or you could do some question and answer cards if you would rather. So this is an opportunity for you to use the time that you've got. The first thing you must do is you must do the, as I say, you must do the worksheet, which is the third one along on that graphic behind me. And then you can choose what else you do. Now you need to leave yourself 10 minutes or so at the end of this lesson, because there is still something else that we are going to do together. So you're going to pause me now, and then you're going to come back to me in however long you've got, minus 10 minutes. Okay, so we've got a big question here to reflect on. The just war criteria is not useful for Christians. Do you agree? Give reasons or evidence for your answer showing more than one point of view. So with this, what you're going to do is you're going to work through this question. I've got some sentence starters there for you to work through, and you're going to end up with quite a fat paragraph. This is going to take you 10 minutes or so to do this. So don't rush this, is my point, and see what you can do. So give yourself 10 minutes, then you're going to come back to me, and then we'll wrap up things together. So today we said we'd explore what the just war theory was, and we've now thought about the just war theory. We've applied it to recent conflicts where you've been doing your cube of learning and you've been doing your mind map and things, hopefully. Understanding the just war theory in situations that apply to it, again, hopefully you can now apply how these rules were kept or not during things like World War II. And I know that some of us looked at the Kuwait War previously, the Gulf War, and answer a reflection question, which is what you've just done. So here's some final thoughts for you. So again, grab your phone, send messages on WhatsApp to each other or whatever you're using. And there are 3 questions here. Is it ever right to fight, do you think? How can war or conflict be avoided? And can a war ever be just? Some big questions there, and I'm going to leave that with you to think about. Thanks for your time. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Wash your hands. God bless you. I'll be seeing you soon.